What's going on, guys? Hayato here, and today I'll be sharing with you how to go ahead and wholesale your very first property step by step. Hope you guys enjoy. So for those of you who don't know what wholesaling real estate is, it pretty much is where you get a property under contract, whether it be vacant, distressed property, foreclosed property, or even a tenanted property for a less than market price. And then you go ahead and pretty much flip it to an investor and sell it to them for an assignment fee that you put on, which is the profit that you'll make. And that's pretty much the basics of wholesaling real estate. So an example would be you would get a property for $30,000 under contract, and then you would go and see that it's about $75,000 ARV, or after repair value, and you can go to the investor and say, hey, this property needs about $10,000 to $15,000 worth of rehab to it, which means that the investor is going to be all in for $45,000, $30,000 purchase price with a $15,000 rehab cost, and they can go ahead and sell that property at an ARV of $75,000. And if you even show the investors some comps, which are comparable properties to the property that you got under contract, to show them, hey, this property sold for $75,000, this sold for $80,000, this sold for $83,000, showing them that there are properties that sold for about that price near your property, and showing them that, hey, these are, if you do the same with this property and you make sure that you do the rehab on this, you can hit a $75,000 ARV. Then the investor would be $45,000 in, and then if you subtract that from the $75,000 ARV, the investor has a potential to make a $30,000 flip ROI. But obviously, I'm not accounting for, other expenses such as closing costs and whatnot. But this is just to simplify things, and the investors can make $30,000. And then if you put it on the table for them, then an investor might be very, very interested. And so for me, the job of a wholesaler is pretty much to show the investor everything that they need in order to make a decision, and make it as simple and easy as possible for them to say, okay, this is a property that I want to go ahead and invest and do this project in. And it's also very, very important to give them full transparency, because you want to build these good relationships with these investors and make sure that they are happy with what they're purchasing and they have the full picture of that property. Because let's say there's foundational issues that about the property, but you don't tell the investor, and once the investor purchases, they go back to you and say, hey, what the hell, this property was not what I expected, it's not what you told me, and that person's never going to buy from you again. So for me, at least, trust is really, really important, and transparency is really important as well. So in our company, in our wholesale company, we try to make things as transparent as possible, and that's definitely something that I would suggest too when working with investors. So without further ado, let's just go right into the steps. So the very first step, in my opinion, that wholesalers should try and do is not to go and find motivated sellers and go ahead and build that list to contact and get the property under contract for, but it really is to go ahead and network with real estate investors and really do a good deep analysis and do some market research on the market that they're trying to go into. And the reason for that is, one, it doesn't really cost that much money. Two, what the investors are looking for, what criteria they're looking for. And three, that gives you kind of a foundation for you to go and say, okay, I want to go ahead and look at these neighborhoods and try to go ahead and find these properties in those neighborhoods. So then once you find them, you already have a buyer lined up. You already know that this investor wants that property. And that way, once you get a property under contract, your job would be a lot easier. And again, you could do this for free and network with other investors in that market that you're looking to go into. And it would save you a lot of time after you get a property under contract. The second step into wholesaling real estate that I suggest is finding a title company and giving them a call and making sure that they're a title company that can work with wholesalers and that they're very, very good at communicating with you, because a title company is going to be essential for your wholesale business and making sure that your transactions go through. And so that is the second step that I would take for sure. Now, the third step I believe is really important, is to get the contracts you need. So every different market that you try to go into are going to have different purchase and sale agreements. And you can even ask your title company to see if they have a purchase and sale agreement that they might be able to give you somewhat of a template, and which is why step number 2 is really important, to have a good connection with them. And also you can look it up online as well, but again, having a purchase and sale agreement contract is really important because that's how you're going to get properties under contract. And it's also very important to go find an assignment contract that works for you and that the title company accepts, so that you can go ahead and assign that contract to the investor once you have the property under contract. So that would be step number 3. Now, step number 4 is finally where you can go ahead and try to find these motivated sellers. And you can do that in many different ways. You can run Facebook ads, you can go find them on ListSource, you can go find them on PropStream, or you can go ahead and find them on many different channels. It really depends on what you want to do. But it's really important that you have this list and you go ahead and buy them, and you have them skip traced, where you can go ahead and get those people's numbers and start calling them. And so that's step 4. And as you might have guessed, step number 5 is now calling them, texting them, or leaving them a voicemail saying, hey, I'm interested in your property, let's talk. And so you can use different dialing systems. I know a lot of people like to use Mojo dialers, they like to use whatever. It really doesn't matter. Most of the systems do the same things anyway, and so finding one that works for you and making sure that you have a system where you can go ahead and cold call and go ahead and find these people, that's what I would recommend. And you can go ahead and try to get a property under contract. And once you get a property under contract, then you can move on to step number 6. So step 6 is where you finally got in a property under contract and you got it for a pretty good deal that an investor would definitely like. And because from step, I believe, number 2, you were able to go and build that connection and network with these investors. And so you can go to them and say, hey, I got this property under contract. I think it's a really good deal. I did this research. I found some comps and whatnot. And this looks like something that you're going to be interested in. And so you bring it to them. And if the buyer agrees with you, then you can send them an assignment contract. And once you have both the purchase and sale agreement filled out from the sellers and you have the assignment contract filled for the buyers, then you give both of those documents to the title company, and the title company will facilitate the entire transaction for you. And now the very, very last step is to make sure that you keep in good communication with the seller and the title company and the buyer as well, to coordinate that entire transaction so everything goes smoothly. Make sure that you give all the documentations to the title company that they need. Make sure that you're giving buyers an update on everything that's going on, and the same with the sellers. So that's pretty much how you go ahead and wholesale real estate. Hope you guys enjoyed, and hope you guys were able to follow the step-by-step process in which you can go ahead and wholesale real estate. Again, I hope you guys enjoy the content, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.